Hi everyone, my name is Avery Brenna Crumrine, and welcome back to The Follow Through. Today I'm here with Sheevaun Moran, and this is really fun for me because Sheevaun and I have actually crossed paths a couple of times now. We originally met at Speakeasy, and then I got to see her again when I spoke at the LA Tribune event. And Sheevaun is the founder of Energetic Solutions. She's written 18 books, built and sold four businesses, and have worked with more than 35,000 business owners. And a huge part of what her work is helping people close the gap between knowing what they want to do and actually doing it, which obviously fits in perfectly with everything we talk about here. So, Sheevaun, welcome. I'm so excited to finally have you on.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So, obviously, I want to start with the part because you've written 18 books. So, let's dive into that for a second.
Sure.
And obviously, this is a huge part about what I do. So, I'm curious. I'd love to start with what made you decide to write your first book?
Um, I think I'm going to go back a second. So I was infuriated one day when I was riding my bike home at night and I saw the lights in the city of LA still on. And I was really just infuriated, really. And I thought, I'm going to write to the editor. I'm going to write to the publisher of the LA Times. That's exactly what I said. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to write an article and they're going to publish my article. I hadn't written an article. I mean, nothing, none of this, but I was pretty incensed. So I wrote the article. I sent it to the publisher and the opinion section. Both of them called me and said, we need a headshot. I'm like, a headshot? What's a freaking headshot? I had nothing. I found something and sent it, and they published it the next day. And I was like, oh, I can have an impact with these articles. And fast forward a second, I had gone out on my own with this energy thing that I'd been doing long before anybody was talking about energy. And a division of the LA Times asked me to write a weekly column. And I was like, really? Why? And I wrote a weekly column for, gosh, like 3 years. I forgot about that until fairly recently. And and then every day when I would be meditating, I'd hear, you have to write a book. And my, I don't know if most people do this, but I did. I was like, shut up. And I probably did that for 2 years. And then something I was teaching meditation at a couple colleges by that time. And people were saying, I want to hear your voice and I want to take it home. And a couple people said, I need this whole thing in a book. And I thought, oh, so there is real value in writing a book. And one of the most challenging things, at least for me, is I came from building companies and wanting big numbers and stuff like that. And my perception at the time, I didn't know any better because the publishing industry wasn't the way it is now. And I thought you had to hire somebody to write it for you. That's really what I thought. And so I had a brilliant client. She was getting her PhD and she was like, I want to write it for you. Okay, great. And then she wrote it and I was like, no, that is not me. That does not sound like me. And so I ultimately ended up trashing all of that and writing it myself. Um, and I didn't realize that I kind of had an interesting way of communicating with people that is very informal, to help people not feel like they're being talked down to and help them feel like they're actually learning something. And I didn't know this until somebody told me this. They're like, oh my God, you're the only person I've ever, and I've ever read that made sense and that I could actually do something and I didn't just throw the book away and forget. And I thought, oh, that's really fascinating. But here's the thing, that when that Learn to Meditate book didn't get out first, the second one did, which is called Shotgun Shopping. And the reason the first one, the Meditate book, didn't get out first is because my uh, husband-ish at the time, was decided to take a red pen to it when I just asked him to read it. And I was upset. I was infuriated. And I thought, how dare you? I didn't ask you to like edit it. I just asked if you thought it made sense. And so I actually locked myself in my office for 3 days straight. And I wrote the second book, which I published. And I didn't tell him until I handed him the book and I had it published, printed, and I'd already had it distributed. Um, and he's like, what, where did this come from? I was like, oh no, I wrote that in 3 days. Did the some of the artwork in there and stuff like that. And so that's really kind of the story of how the writing got started. And then apparently I haven't been able to shut up since.
That's so fun. And even just going back to the first like blog post, I had a similar experience where it's like I didn't feel ready or I didn't know like I had this huge message. And so when I spoke for the first time, it was like you're making an impact and you don't even feel ready yet. And it's like it's kind of shocking when it first happens. So I love that you had a similar experience but in writing. And that's
Yeah.
funny now that you have 18 books.
And the funny thing is people say to me, "Isn't that really hard?" And I don't think it's hard. I actually think it's hard to cut them down. Because you actually don't realize how much wisdom you have in getting it out. And I was with my chiropractor earlier today, and he says, "Well, my wife and I are writing a book, and it's not going well." And I thought, well, you know what? Why don't you just finish it? And so, um, I think the challenge with most people is they tend to get in their heads about something rather than just say it and just go to the next step.
Yeah, I completely agree. And do you plan to write more books?
So here's the funny thing. So I wrote 18 and then I went away last year in October and two things happened. I had this kind of invention not kind of, I had this invention idea and I went there to have them tell me that it was a bad idea, basically. And went to dinner the night before I was leaving, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was talking about her marriage and the mess and all kinds of things. And I said, "Oh, you want to hear some stories?" And I told her some stories about being engaged a bunch of times and being married a couple times. And she's like, "That's a movie." And I was like, "No, it's a book." I have to write the book in order to make the movie. She's like, I can. So I thought, oh, you know what? I think I should write this book. I already had the name. And so I've invented an app and I wrote a book at the exact same time. Don't ever do that, by the way. It's hard. The book is done. It's not getting released yet, but the book is done. And nobody would actually believe that a human has gone through as much as in the book. But yeah, I did. It was the first time I actually I tell a lot of personal stories in all my books. But this one is just story about things that have occurred in my life that are really, I think, when a woman reads it, or, maybe even a man, but when a woman reads it, they'll say, ah, yeah, that's a lesson in there for me. And so there were like 8 lessons. And I didn't mean to do it like that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So that's the last one. I don't think I have any more books in me, but who
Maybe.
knows?
Maybe once you publish you'll think up another idea.
Yeah, I have an intriguing life that is, I don't think most people will be laughing, but that's all I got. So that's what I'm gonna do.
I'm curious how you jumped from the first two to then so many more. Like was it kind of you just kept having these ideas and you just like they just
Um,
spilled out of you, or was there any kind of resistance that came up when writing these, or just all kind of it felt like it needed to
yeah.
happen?
No, I think that, I had known one of the guys, or two of the guys from Chicken Soup with a Soul. I had known them, and we were at an event, and I had this one idea, and I was like, this is the book. And one of the guys said to me, "Well, why don't you write it in vignettes?" And I was like, "But aren't those chapters?" And he said, "Well, do you think people really read that much?" And I thought, "Oh, yeah, you have a good point." He said, "You could write, 30, 40 pages, and have them all as vignettes." And I thought, "Oh, that makes sense." And so I came back and I decided to outline the titles and see what was possible. And I thought, well, why don't I just write one, see what happens? I thought I'll write, 20, 30 pages, 150 pages later. And then I couldn't stop. And any time I'd hear somebody teaching something or sharing some wisdom out there that was really taking people down a wrong path, I kind of got infuriated. So I'd write a book. That's really what happened.
Wow, that's really interesting. And that's really unique. That's so fun to hear
Yeah.
stories how they came to be. I'm curious, do you suggest writing a book to people? Because when I wrote my book, I felt like it kind of,
No,
no,
no. Mm-mm.
tell me why.
Um, Unless you have real good clarity
Mm,
about the message, I think you'll stay in a wandering thing and then you'll be disappointed. So I have a client who wanted to write a book and I was like, okay, I know what you're going through. She wrote a 400-page workbook.
oh,
Yeah. And she's like, nobody wants it. And I was like, who would read 400 pages of like, and she's like, yeah, just probably 20 people on the planet. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's find those 20 people. But the reason I say you don't want to write one until it becomes absolutely inevitable, it needs, I think you need to have a good way of getting your message across. And most people have and I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from writing. Please do. It's great. But if you're going to write, then just write for one person. And that person is you to get the message out. Don't write for fame or I didn't write any of them for anything other than, you know what, this is a message that maybe one person needs. Um, and I know a lot of people write books in order to get fame or notoriety, or, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's not one single thing wrong with that. Here I am, like, I'm crapping on books, sounds like, but I'm just giving a reality check. Um, um, but if you get if you get really clear and like it's like, oh, I gotta write that one, even if it's just for you. So I have another client who she said I have to write this book, and I said, okay, you have a year to tell me how clear you are about writing it. And we helped her grow her business from nothing, from $0, um, uh, to multiple high six figures. And I said, okay, now you have clarity. And she wrote the book really fast, got it published really fast, everything just worked. And so it's kind of like divine timing.
mm.
I know that's probably not the answer you wanted.
No, it's really great because I felt like when I wrote my book, I think writing a book is great for the people that it will help, but I think it's even better for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
felt so much more like confident in my message. I felt like, I mean, you're in this manuscript over time, you really see things from a different perspective when you write a book. So I love that you said being able to write it for one person, for yourself. I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's the seminal thing. It will, so if you are going to write a book, then do it for just for you. I mean, I have another, it sounds like, I'm crapping on books, but I have a lot of clients who've written books. A client who's an attorney, and she's like, I have a story that is a screenplay. And I said, well, I think you should write a book first. And she wrote the book, and now she goes and takes her dog to schools, and she teaches. It's, I mean, she's an attorney, and it's given her way more than a screenplay would have. Now it's getting made into a movie, but she spent 3 years going to schools all over Southern California.
I love that because it's like you can start with just one idea of writing the book and then it can lead to like all these other paths that you never would have expected.
That's
I love
right.
that.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much in this. It's like we could literally stay on this book topic, but I know I want to go into other things because you've done so much. I feel like I'm gonna move on because there's
Okay.
like too many questions that
So
I
we'll
could
come back
ask.
on another time, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so one concept of yours that I really want to get into is the idea that there are three types of people. I know you mentioned there's the doer, the watcher, and the wanderer.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious kind of like how you even came about being able to like differentiate those people and kind of what it's done for you and how and maybe even explain who these people are for the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody thinks they're the doer. Interestingly, everybody thinks they're the doer. And maybe true. But there are people who are early adopters, like the iPhone. I remember when the iPhone came out, where I was in the Philippines, and I heard it being announced. I'm like, I'm buying that. I want that right away. I was like, I swear to God, I invented that in my head, and I told Steve Jobs about that. um, and that's a doer, is seeing something and going ahead. Kind of like the way I wrote the articles and the books and stuff like that, even though I said I don't want to do it. I get there pretty fast. Um, so there actually aren't a lot of doers. We do a lot of things, but not doers. And then the watcher is somebody who watches to see what others are doing first. And then they figure out, well, AI came out, and all of a sudden everybody's an AI expert, right? That's somebody who is in that category. And then the wanderers, I call that spiritual window shopping. So they're just window shopping. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's about, where do you want to put your time, energy, and what is your purpose?
Mhm.
And you can't be a wanderer and achieve as much as you feel in your heart or your soul you're here to achieve. It just doesn't work. Window shopping just doesn't work. You have to put motion and put things into action, right? And so if somebody can go from a wanderer to a watcher to a doer, that's when things move. That's when things really, really move. Um, I'm this invention I made. I haven't built something brand spanking new from nothing in a long time. Um, and I've helped a lot of companies do that, but not for myself in a long time. Programs and products and things, that's not the same. I just feel like that's just an extension of who I am and how I can help people. But this invention is brand spanking new, and it requires the doing. Be in the doing, in times, and uh, make sure that I'm not being my own obstacle.
Mhm.
Because in order to get something that is new out there, it takes a different way of being. And that requires you to be the doer, no matter what. And not everybody's cut out for it, and that's okay. That's totally okay. And watchers do well too. It's the wanderers who, I mean, some do well, but you have to have some energetics that are going to help you stay connected and grounded and anchored to living the life that you want to live, rather than be like a butterfly and go from here to here to here, or be like a hummingbird, just, a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah. I so don't think I forgot. We need to go into this invention, but
Yeah.
I'm curious how you how you thought of this, how you made this differentiation between how people move.
I remember this person I met when I was speaking at a conference, and she just looked, it was her conference, and she looked overwhelmed and exasperated. And I was talking with her before the conference, and I think it was the keynote or something. And I said, "What's going on?" She says, "I have so much." And she turned her phone or camera around to like her room, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" I said, "Here's some things that you need to do. I want you to erase that whiteboard there, and I want you to put these three things up there: doer, watcher, wanderer." Okay. And then start putting yourself into those categories of each little thing that you have. Is this a doer thing? Is it a watcher thing? Or am I just going to wander around on this thing? And she said it saved her life and saved her business. And I hadn't really thought about it much until I was writing some emails and articles recently, and I was like, "Yeah, I got to bring that back. People need to understand that they're really good three good buckets." And it's like, are you going to be the doer, or are you going to choose to step into doing? Because that takes a commitment and a promise and a stick to itiveness, and probably hiring somebody that is going to cost more than you think. And it's going to take more energy, effort, time than you think. But hiring the right person helps you get there faster. Um, and so it's okay. That's what you're going to have to do for the doerism. And, the watcher, eventually you're going to have to become a doer, right? Or you're going to end up falling in the wanderer. So most people tend to fall into the category of watcher wanderer.
How do you, like, what's a step that you would tell someone to take to move into that next phase?
Um, well, it's kind of like hold a party, set a date, and go. Right?
So it's really like energy perspective you
It's
choose
kind of
to
like
do.
putting a stake in the ground and saying, "This is the date, this is the time, this is what's happening. If only one person shows up, that's all. That's good. I got it going." Because it takes and it takes momentum. I always say that don't stop a business that's moving. You can shift it and pivot it, but don't stop a business that's moving, because if you stop it, getting it into momentum again is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult. Not impossible, but incredibly difficult. And most people tend to want to just shut it down. You see this with realtors often, because it's just like, "Yeah, I got some sales," and then they'll just kick back. "Yay! Oh, now I got to market again. Oh my God!" And it's all this frenetic energy, and we do that a lot. So um, the best thing to do is to uh, set up a name, you know, get things going, set a date. Don't declare it to the world. It's just like, here's the date, here's the time, here's the thing, here's the price. Call me if you need to register. I'm working on the landing page. Don't work on the landing page and make it all that stuff perfect. Nobody actually really cares. I mean, I grew a very large business before landing pages even existed. So I had a piece of paper, and sometimes I didn't even have a piece of paper. So
It's just about the doing and the
yeah.
choosing.
Yeah, choosing and stay in action, put a stake in the ground, there are places everywhere that you can make an announcement. Just like, here's the date, here's the time, here's the price. Here's my phone number if you want to come.
I'd love to hear about this invention that you have started from nothing, because that sounds
Yeah.
powerful.
It is scary. And I had an idea, then somebody presented me with something, and I said, "Oh, great, can you build it?" And they said yes, and then it was like, "No, we can't. I can't do that." Oh, all right. I guess it's not possible. And then I thought, you know what? I'm a smart girl. I can build this. And I just started asking a couple coders, if they could take this concept that I had in my brain, and I described it to them, and then one of them gave me something back. I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty good." And then another one gave me something back, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's kind of good." I wasn't sold. I was like, "Oh, those are good." And then I met somebody who was a real coach. Not the other ones weren't, but like that's all he does in his world is like high-end coding, difficult coding. And he listened and he says, "Yeah, yeah, I think I can build something like that." And then he presented it to me 2 weeks later, and I thought, "Oh my gosh." He listened with ears that very few people listened with. And he took all of that, all of those inputs, and he presented the idea of how because my hypothesis was that your voice reveals everything about you. And we could create something that would help people get unstuck and get into the doer, right? Get unstuck faster and get out of any emotional upset so that they wouldn't get stuck in the watcher or the wanderer, because emotions are get people stuck in the watcher and the wanderer,
Mhm.
interestingly, right? So he built it. I loved it. I thought, oh, that's really cool. We'll use it as a lead magnet. And then I tested it on a few people and like, oh my gosh. And it started this, oh my gosh, I have to follow these breadcrumbs. And so essentially, what we've built is our voice carries the front voice that everybody hears, and then it carries the voice that we know, and then it carries the hidden inner voice that is kind of secretly holding all of the other data points, meaning where we're burnt out, where we're not being in integrity with ourselves, where we're disgusted, deflated, any of those things. It's holding that, even if we don't know it. Because as you grow and do your own transformation work, you get more sophisticated at tricking yourself that you got it all going. Good. Everything's good. Right? And in fact, it's the inner stuff that needs to get solved. And so somebody records into the app. It's not in the app store yet, but it's on the web. So they record into the thing and 20 seconds, and it goes through millions of biomarkers and identifies the emotion and the tone and all of the different tonality of the entire voice system. Pretty fascinating. And then what it does is it gives you remedies in order to get out of whatever problem has been revealed harmonically or frequency wise. And then it gives you a soundscape in order to get you into a higher, better, more aligned, upbeat state. And then it gives you some remedies again. And then it tells you about your chakras, because I know that stuff and it's kind of cool and fun. And I related that to the book I wrote, one of the books I wrote, The Secret Energy of All Successful Businesses, How to Scale and Never Fail, because it shows in our chakral system, which shows in our voice. So we put that all together under one package, and um, people want it. They want to help. They want to, people want to use it for coaches want to, or using it. Nurses are using it. Leaders are using it. They're starting to consider bringing their teams to it. I was in London last week, and I have a friend who's a filmmaker, and he says I use it to make sure I'm really clear when I'm talking with everybody. He says really helped me stay even. It's like, wow, that's amazing. I mean, who knew? A gal who does some different type of energy stuff. She says, "Oh, I use this before and after every single client." Like, wow. um, so everybody's finding their own use case for it in how they see it helping them optimize their life and stay out of trauma and drama and take that intention, like your book, intention into action.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this sounds like there's a lot that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
Into finding all these different layers of this voice to then give you these answers. I'm curious even what led you to make the hypothesis that your voice carries these three different, like
Yeah.
deeper than what it is.
Yeah, somebody showed me, something about what the voice does, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. We should do that for." I don't remember exactly what I said. We should have that done. And when they said they couldn't do it, I started thinking, hmm, I think because when I work with people, I don't do Zoom. I do phone calls because I've always wanted to hear the voice because I know. So it got me thinking about how I've always paid attention to these three areas of how the voice works and tells the story that people don't know that is being told. It will tell the story of the health. It actually tells the story of hormones. It actually tells the story of breath and heart rate. And so I went and looked for science on it, and all of this is backed by science.
Wow. Can you tell, like, from you listening as well, or is it like just the app that translates it? Like, have you
I
been in
can
a
tell,
situation
yeah.
where, like,
Yes,
as
I
my
know.
voice tell you?
I know, right? It's everyone's self-aware when they're like, "Can you tell about me?" And I'm like, "No, I don't do that." I mean, I can. Um, I do. So the way I use that is when I am helping somebody to get into action or into a solution or something, get something magical. I have a unique way of asking questions, and it and I start unraveling or rewinding or something like that to help get to the essence of it, and that's all through the voice. And
Mhm.
the voice has always told me stories that I don't really think I paid attention to much until that little thing was shared with me, and I thought I should build this. And then I got to thinking, oh, I've always, even since I was a child, um, reacted to those elements of the voice. So it's really just an amazing extension and quite terrifying to want it to be so good and to see the potential of how it could help so many people. Yeah.
It's really intriguing.
Like
One,
you were in the room when I did that demo, right?
yes, yes, I was.
Well, that's a funny thing. So I actually hadn't done a demo before that. Honest to gosh, we had gotten users, and when he said, "Hey, Siobhan, can you do a demo?" and I thought, "Yes, of course I can." That's what I was doing. I don't know if I can do a demo. That's what I was doing inside, of course. And the demo turned out really good. And I thought I should just do demos. This makes so much sense.
Yeah, no, it went really well. You would never assume that you hadn't done it before.
No, but when you know your product, it works.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna add the link to that in the description for someone who may want to connect with you personally, maybe keep in touch or learn what you're doing.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
Oh, thanks, Avery. Go to SheevaunMoran.com, SheevaunMoran.com. And you can find all kinds of stuff about me there. And there are really cool things in there that you can download and get clarity right now.
So for somebody listening today who has been thinking about something, maybe they're in the wandering or the watching, and they're like, what can I do? They're ready. What would you tell them to do today?
I would tell them to go to SheevaunMoran.com, and I would tell them to go click on the blog, and then on the right hand side, there are three choices that they can go choose from. This is how I talk about this stuff is like, don't get into the language of it. Just pick the one. It's just like, I don't know, it's supposed to be that one. And if it's money, it's money. You'll find the money. If it's this, it's don't get into the words of it. Just be like, I think it's that one. And you go and you start down that journey that way. It's a different way of going, but it's kind of worked that way always. So why not go with it?
Amazing. Well, Siobhan, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad we finally got to sit down and have this conversation. And as always, intention doesn't change anything, putting it into action does.
Woo woo.